Welcome to the Real MacKay, the Scotland Today video blog, and another in our occasional series on the career paths of some of the people who work in the newsroom. We're going to talk to Richard Groundsell, our graphics artist, today. Now, you've had a fascinating career, Richard. Briefly outline, how did you get here?
Well, I left school. I persuaded my parents to let me leave school halfway through my A-levels because I was desperate to sort of get away from Devon. And I joined the Navy, so I became a submariner for five and a half years or so. And then I got into, and I kind of picked up drawing, so I liked, when I was on the submarine, so drawing and painting a bit. So when I left the Navy, I took a 2-year sort of art and design sort of course that would just get me into kind of possibly with an idea of getting into a degree course, So I did that for a couple of years. Got into do a degree, but I did a degree, and my degree was in illustration in London. So I was doing an illustration course, but I was doing a bit of graphics, but mostly illustration really. But then I used to do all sorts of stuff. I used to do sort of painting and set design really. So I left then and freelancing in London for quite a few years, doing pretty much everything really, anything that came my way. Book covers, CD covers, print design, artwork for clubs. We used to come up to the Edinburgh Festival with clubs from London and do banners for them, and so pretty much everything that came my way really. So I did that for a number of years. Then we moved to. I met my wife, and we had a sort of, and she was pregnant with our child, and we didn't want to stay in London, So we moved out to Bristol for a while, and my daughter was born in Bristol, and then we moved from Bristol. We moved to the Outer Hebrides, which is my wife's parents were from, and then I found myself in Stornoway doing pretty much everything, working with television companies, doing titles for television programs, set designs for television programs, Gallic Television, print design for just everything. It's the kind of place. I was saying to somebody this morning, like the Western House was the kind of place that, people would say, "Do you know somebody who can do this?" And I would just sort of, do it. So I've become sort of anything that comes away, and so. Which has led me into sort of doing the television stuff. I did television work with After Effects, which is the software now that we use for the graphics, the television program. So
it's a fascinating life, and you've spoken about being in the submariner. Now we'll not go on about that any length, great length, because we could do. But you spent a lot of months under the Arctic and stuff like that. I mean, what was that like?
We used to chug around from. Anywhere from the Med right up north of Norway, sort of up around there. So
not seeing the light of day?
No.
How did you deal with that?
I don't know really. It's a bit, when you first do it, I can remember sort of certainly feeling, the first time I did it, feeling quite claustrophobic. But then you work such a weird routine, you get so tired. You don't care after a while. All you care about is eating and sleeping. And kind of that's it, because you work such a weird routine. You just forget, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't sit there fretting about, because sometimes you'd be sitting there when you first got on board, you think, I'm sitting there sort of 6 feet away as a bulkhead, and outside of that, there's kind of nothing but millions of tons of seawater, But
does that mess with your head?
It does a bit. It does a little bit. But you used to find that you used to get a lot of people who'd been to sea for years suddenly just freak out and couldn't cope with it. Just kind of hit them.
And for you, was the art a kind of release?
Was it what?
A kind of release for you, or is that maybe trying to be too analytical of it? No. I
was young and kind of just all I was interested in was kind of the. I don't know really. I think
something you found you were good at.
It was. I wasn't very good at it at first, actually. I must say. Well, I used to think I was sort of good at it, But luckily I had a friend who was in the Navy at the time who went on to become an architect, and he got me into sort of he used to encourage me a lot. He used to take me into Glasgow, go to the lot of art galleries in Glasgow. So I got into thought I was really like painting and drawing. Thought I was better than I really was, I think I was okay, But luckily I went to the art school that I went for an interview for. I suppose they thought I had something, something that they could see something. I mean, looking back now, they were pretty rubbish.
You spoke about CD covers and books. Any you might know? Or so many that you've forgotten yourself.
No, it's just a lot of. No, not really. Can't think of anything. Maybe a lot of latterly, a lot of in story, a lot of Celtic music, sort of covers and stuff of that.
You spoke about, and we have interviewed you about this before, about doing graphics for TV. So, presumably, the principal thing about this is the lack of time.
Yes, it's being able to know when to let go, and when it's kind of, because you just don't have the time to. I mean, it's with any graphics you can spend. It's a judgment about how much time you could spend hours, and you can spend days on things, crafting them and making them fantastic. But this job is not. You just haven't got that luxury. You have to. You have to know when to stop. Know when to know when it's. When it's finished. It's good enough to go on air. I mean, it has to be good enough to go on air, but you're not going to spend all day sort of crafting it. But
and the demands of the reporters change quite frequently as well, do they not?
They do. They do. And you can be halfway through a job and the story gets dropped. So you can have spent sort of a couple of hours, and it can be a fantastic graphic that you're kind of really pleased with, and it's just doesn't see the light of day because everything changes. But I like that. I kind of like that. Before, other graphics that you might do, you might spend 3 weeks on a set, or 3 weeks crafting, or doing an annual report, over sort of 6 weeks or something. But that's a sort of weekly kind of, sort of thing that goes on and on and on. It's quite a pressure that kind of builds up. This is just pretty immediate, really. And then once it's on air and it's gone, you move on. So I kind of like it.
Has anything that you have done previously, has it lined you up for this, as it were, or is your career path rather unusual for a TV graphics artist? I would imagine it would be.
It is an unusual one because the TV graphics, I think, has moved from sort of tailored equipment that kind of would have cost an absolute fortune, and people who've done it before me would have trained on specific sort of bits of equipment that is very, just industry sort of particular to that sort of, the television graphics industry. Because it's changed now, it's changed to the software we use now. It's pretty much off the shelf software that anybody could sort of buy, and use. I mean, the machine I have is not. There's nothing fantastic about it,
But it's what you do with it, Richard.
It's what you. Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's what you do with it. Yeah.
And I mean, as I say, it's been a fascinating career, or done a lot of fascinating things. And would you have seen yourself ending up doing this? Did you ever envisage this?
No. But I can see elements of this job. The demands of this job that maybe things that I've done in the past really help with. So it's not a job that you can panic in. You panic and you've had it, So you can have minutes to go, and you just have to kind of keep your, when you have minutes to do things, and when you're flying around with keyframes on an animation, if you panic and your hands sweat, and you lose where you are, and you kind of, you've had it. You just really have had it, and you'll blow it, So. Just the ability to sort of when the chips are down, you're kind of just really kind of keep a clear head. Your palms are not sweating, so you're not kind of, you're not finding it difficult to sort of move yourself around, and that helps. So things I've done in the past have helped that a lot.
Not so different from in a submariner, then.
Not really, no. Apart from I get a better view. But it's a very similar thing, actually. Funny enough, the traffic with Stuart reminds me a lot of in the control room of a submarine, there's there are people sitting in front of panels in exactly the same way with dials and sort of screens. So it's a very similar feel to it, and the hum of the the air conditioning and the and people running around, a bit sort of stressed, and so it's a very similar thing,
Been a fascinating life, fascinating conversation. Richard, thanks for doing that, and see more of Richard's work tonight in Scotland Today at 6 o'clock.